Good evening to you. I want to begin by extending to all of you the best wishes for the season. And I hope that the new year will turn out for each and every one of you in every way that you wish to be a wonderful and successful new year, and that God's richest blessings will attend you and everything that you have to deal with. I am supposed to be in St. Peter, Kerry, launching to a third division football team. But I had to be here. And I have to be here to be part of the opening of this Victory House. And I want to begin by impressing upon all concerned, as I would have had the occasion to do more than once, how much depends upon you in this constituency. We simply have to win this seat to be able to constitute the next government of Barbados. And believe me, there have been times in the past when it has been important for the Barbados Labour Party to try to do everything in its power to be able to constitute the government of this country. But you must believe me when I tell you that there is a reason higher now and more powerful now than at any time in the history of this country, that we, the representatives of the people, do not spare ourselves and strain every signal to be able to take back office from this bankrupt, broken, and wicked government. I have come to urge you, each and every one of you, do not fail either the Barbados Labour Party nor the people of Barbados. And you know, if I had to contextualize what I want to say this evening, I will have to go to the good book, that we fight not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities, rulers of darkness and wickedness in high places. And you know, if you ask for justification for why that we are fighting against wickedness in high places. And tonight I have to share with you the most recent aspect of that wickedness in high places that the people of this country must be told about. But before I come to that, you know, it is amazing how good and how tolerant are the people of Barbados. This government will be the first government that will seek to hang on to office for more than 5 years after it has been elected to office. You know, I have been a prime minister of this country, and I was always conscious of the fact that it was the will of the people that mattered, and that in everything that I sought to do for this country, that I had to seek a mandate from the people in advance. And that the notion of going past 5 years, exceeding your mandate, not asking for the will of the people, is not something that ever occurred to Tom Adams, nor to Errol Barra, nor to Erskine Sandiford. And 3 times I had to do it, always seek a mandate from the people. But we don't have a government that will want to go on for beyond 5 years. And it is not that they have things to do that are going to be of benefit to the people of this country. That explains why they have this necessity to hold on. It is to try to do in a few days and a few weeks that which could not have been done in 5 years. It is to take up the taxpayers' money at a time when people are sucking salt in this country, to lick it out and lick it out and lick it out on foolishness, in the belief that last minute spending on things like football, like summer camps in winter, like commissions and things of this nature, will convince you that they are deserving of being given another term. And every time I really believe that I have seen the worst from the Democratic Labour Party, and every time I think that I cannot be any longer surprised by anything that they come with, something new comes that shocks me. And you begin to ask yourself the question, what kind of country does the Democratic Labour Party think that we are living in? Now, have you ever heard of something called cost you less? Thompson talked about it. Well, you know, I suppose that Thompson has not yet been admitted, and he has not been admitted to hell, I got to be fair to the man. And there might be good reasons why he has not been. But you said that Thompson talked about cost you less. Well, I once gave a speech at Haggett Hall when he said that in 1958, the great West Indian philosopher, historian, patriot, C.L.R. James, was called to do an analysis of the political situation of Barbados and to assess what he thought of this new party that was on the horizon called the Democratic Labour Party. And he says that there is something unsavory about them. They are not about public policy. They are about cutting deals. And this whole term of the Democratic Labour Party has been a justification and a vindication of the statement of C.L.R. James that the Democratic Labour Party is not about public policy nor development. It is about deals. And Kerry Simmons would have spoken to you this evening about deals. And week by week, you're hearing about more and more deals. And we can go through a campaign, and every night, the subject of the discussion could be another nasty DLP deal. That is all it has been about. Now, why do I want to talk to you about Cost You Less? Cost You Less is a company that is intended to be established in Barbados with a view to participating in what is called the distributive sector. It is going to be involved in buying and selling dry goods, groceries, and other things. It is going to be competing with the supermarkets of Barbados, with the shops of Barbados, with Price Smart, Shop Smart, and all the other entities that exist in Barbados and that have existed in Barbados for years. And the notion of having, they call them the merchants. Nothing new. Our distributive sector is well developed. Not new, but one thing is significant about it. Because it is involved only in buying and selling things, the distributive sectors, whether it is Shop Smart, Price Smart, supermarkets, they do not get tax relief. The government does not, everything that they import and sell, they have to pay the import duty, they have to pay the VAT. And people who make profits from these entities do not get any relief from the payment of taxes on their dividends. So our distributive trades, RLC, JBs, Supercenter, they are all subject to tax. And all of them operate on the same playing field, where the one rule that applies to one applies to all. And isn't that fair? And in our time, there are some of them that have opened in Barbados under the Labour Party. The same rule that applied to one applied to them. Now, it also has to be clear to you that if by some arrangement some new entity came into the distributive trades and was given concessions and tax relief, that all the others were not given, and that these tax concessions and tax relief was major and significant, it would be given that one company an unfair advantage in the marketplace and would be putting the financial viability of all the others in risk and putting thousands of jobs potentially in peril. Is that the kind of Barbados that we want to live in, where one company can, at the discretion of a minister, be given concessions that it alone will enjoy, and in its enjoyment could possibly destroy everybody else in the same field? Is this the Barbados that we want to live in? Well, on the 13th of April 2011, a letter which I will make public was written setting out the duty-free concessions that are to be extended to Cost You Less Barbados Inc. And these concessions, I'll say nobody else in the distributive trades get any, but this set of concessions are the most outrageous, extraordinary ever by any Minister of Finance in and of themselves. And having regard to when they were given, 2011, when the minister was raising the VAT on everybody, when the minister was taking away people's entertainment allowances and their travel allowances, these concessions to which I shall speak tonight would be extraordinary at any time. But when you consider that they were given at a time when the minister was doing those wicked things, they have a tinge about them that calls for deeper investigation as regards the motivation behind them. I want to read very slowly what it is that Costs You Less, which apparently is to be opened in March. Received, the letter goes this way. I have been directed to inform you that the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, and I believe that refers to Mr. Christopher Sinclair, wasn't he the one and only minister on the 30th of April 2011? So we know who the minister was. I have been directed to inform you that the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs has approved the undimensioned concessions in respect of the construction and development, not just the construction, development too, of Cost You Less outlet and shopping mall at Warren St. Michael. First, exemption from the payment of import duty and VAT. You want to repeat it? When Constituency was increasing your VAT from 15% to 17.5%, I told that he was going to reverse it in 18 months. He says this is what he was giving, cost you less. Exemption from the payment of import duty and VAT in respect of the importation of fittings, furniture, fixtures, equipment, construction materials, and supplies for the use exclusively in connection, hear me, with the construction, development, sales, and operation of the project, where supplies is defined as materials that are imported solely for use in construction of the project, or materials that are locally produced either for use in the construction or development of the project. So that they get freedom from the payment of VAT for all the materials that to be used in building the facility, but it says, but also supplies for sales and operations. So if I'm to interpret this, all of the other supermarkets and facilities in Barbados will have to pay VAT if they put up even a little shed. We'll have to pay import duty if they put up a little shed. If they sell a little bit of Epsom salts, they have to pay on it. But we can have a privileged investment in this country called cost you less. Cost you less to them. That will be operating in the same field as Supercenter. But if Supercenter want to build anything, they got to pay. If they're selling, they got to charge you the VAT and the import duty. But this privileged investment of which David Thompson spoke, import duties free, VAT free. I start there. Don't praise him. Next, the importation and personal and household effects and vehicles of the expatriate staff will be free of duties and tax. I beg pardon? The personal and household effects of the vehicles of any expatriate staff will be free of duties and VAT. So for you are working very hard, and if you don't buy a little car, VAT and duty in your chest. So I beg you do. If you want to live in Barbados, go and find a job that costs you less. I mean, this is now like a fairy tale. But it's not a fairy tale. This is a horror movie in slow motion. This is not Barbados. And I go on. Because this might be the most extraordinary. Now if you got a little shares, and you get a little dividend on your shares, you have to pay a thing called the withholding tax. And everybody who invests in any supermarket or rum shop or whatever else and make any money on it, you got to pay withholding tax of 15% on your dividends. Not true? I have a few shares in one company, and every time I get a dividend, the government gets 15% of it. But cost you less. Right here, it said Thompson talk about it. This is what they're going to get. Exemption for a period of 15 years. Hear me please. Exemption for a period of 15 years from the payment of withholding tax in respect. Can I please be allowed to speak? exemption for a period of 15 years from the payment of withholding tax in respect of dividends and interest paid to resident and non-resident shareholders. So if you are a shareholder, it costs you less. And you get dividends for 15 years. Every yen in your pocket, please. So exemption from withholding tax for 15 years on dividends and interest paid to resident and non-resident shareholders, financial institutions, or individuals making loans to the company. So if one of the investors also make a loan to the company, he gets interest on that loan free of withholding tax, and then he gets his dividends at the end of the year free of withholding tax too. And fees paid to non-residents who are contracted to provide management services or technical skills for the project, they don't have to pay any withholding tax either. So you're all working very, very hard for government. And a company will come here called Cost You Less, thanks to Mr. Christopher Sinclair, and for 15 years, every penny of profits that go into the shareholders as dividends, they will put in their pockets. Now I say, first of all, that we have and have had a distributive trade now for centuries. And nobody investing in buying and selling in Barbados has ever gotten any concessions like these. But when were these concessions given? They were given in 2011. And when Chris Sinclair was telling Cost You Less that you can come here and operate VAT-free, he was increasing the VAT on you. I promising that he was going to review it, and after 18 months, bring it back. But more to the point, that when Chris Sinclair was putting these concessions in place for Cost You Less, he was telling the ordinary working class people in Bagatelle, my neighbors in West Terrace, all of the working people across Barbados, that if you were getting an entertainment allowance, or you were getting a travel allowance, and that was not subject to tax before, he was making it subject to tax now. And he snatched away $24 million a year from the pockets of working people across Barbados, causing many of them now today in this country to be sucking salt. Don't know how to make ends meet. Can't cope. And at the same time, he was taking away that concession that means so much to the ordinary man and the ordinary woman in this country. He was telling the investors in Cost You Less, come into this country, a land of fat, milk, and honey. And I am going to give you a concession that is going to gladden your heart. Not only the middle class and those out there that want entertainment allowances tax-free and travel allowances tax-free. You can take your dividends tax-free, not for 1 year, but for 15. And you know the amount that this one set of shareholders will get in tax relief from Chris Sinclair. One set of shareholders is more expensive to the Treasury than the little entertainment allowance and the travel allowance that he has taken away from hard-working Barbadian people's carry in Bagatelle. You know, I live in a district of ordinary Barbadians, decent, hard-working people, middle-class people, who depended upon those little allowances to help to make ends meet. And they will have tonight to feel that they have been betrayed by the government of Barbados that could have taken away those allowances from them, but tell a company coming from Canada that we are going to fatten you beyond belief, and we're going to give you every yen that you own and earn in Barbados. Don't pay anything to us. Come here and operate. Enjoy the fat of the land. And for 15 years, every yen that you earn, don't give us a penny to help build this country. Take it and carry it back to Canada. This is wickedness in high places. I know, Clay Maskell and I have been begging this government. This country is not just, economy is not just declining. The economy is in a spiral downwards. A spiral downwards is different from a decline. And when you get into a spiral downward, you got to start to break the spiral. Something got to stop it. We understand that to redevelop Barbados, we got to bring back tourism, and I just recently gave a speech to the Barbados Hotel Association. Because I understand that from day one, we have to do that which this government is not doing. Make sure that we have a successful tourism industry, because without a successful tourism industry, there can be no successful Barbados. We understand that. And it can be done. And it's a wrong thing, a wrong thing, for this government to be starving the Barbados Tourism Association and the Hotel Association and the BTA of money to market Barbados, but can find money to put into a David Thompson football and all kind of foolishness and nonsense, and have community constituency councils distributing foolishness. So we understand what needs to be done, and we will do it from day one. But hear me, something has to stop the spiral. The country is going down and down and down. And that is what Moody's is telling them. It is what Standard & Poor's is telling them. It is what Clay Maskell has been telling them. It is what I have been telling them. Everybody except the world. Because we are stable. And don't laugh at it. And all we've been telling the government, look, Barbados just cannot afford to keep going down and down like a helicopter out of control. You got to break the spiral. Isn't that me saying that you got to let local spending alone do it? But you got to do a little stimulation of the local economy to stop, to break the spiral downward at the same time as you're fixing tourism. Because if you don't do the two together, the spiral is going to go down. So that it has to be a wrong thing for Sinclair and World to have been saying to you all that if we give a little tax relief to the middle class but give you back your allowances, that will mash up the economy. Or if we allow you to pay your land tax at the same rate as Kevin Simpson and Carl Williams, that will mash up the economy. And Michael always saying that this is but a gimmick. But to give a little relief to you, to help this economy from going down and down and down, is wrong. But you can come and give a company that comes from Canada 15 years of relief from the payment of withholding tax on dividends, and relief entirely from the payment of any VAT on its investments and operations? What kind of country have we come to live in? And what kind of government has foisted itself on the people of this land? Are these pirates of the Caribbean? I don't intend that as a joke. The time for telegram and anger has passed. It is time for the people to say enough is enough. It is time for people who will be adversely affected by this to stand up and say this country has to be governed by the rule of law. Because we have laws in this country that protect ordinary people and ordinary businesses from whimsical, discriminatory behavior and capricious behavior by ministers. What you do for one, you have to do for all. And in the distributive sector, you can't give one set of concessions to Supercenter. I don't give the same set of concessions to Jordan Supermarket if they are to operate in the same market space. And if you give one set, especially some like these, because I will not be in the business and the minister tell me that I can sell without import duties and the VAT. Sometimes import duties can be as high as 100 and something %. But the point is this: a minister is also subject to the rule of law. And the time has come for persons in the private sector who will be adversely affected by these decisions by a minister. Discriminatory, capricious, whimsical decisions to take a stand. And this has to be tested. And I am calling upon all of them to stop quarreling now and act within the provisions of the law. And that on Monday, write Chris Sinclair, because I can get the copies of this. I tell him it has been brought to my attention that an enterprise that is going to be in the distributive trades market has been, by your discretion, Minister, been given the following concessions to govern their operations. We are businessmen of equal standing and good standing in the same market. And if these concessions are put into effect, they run the risk of putting our financial circumstances in peril and could cause us to have to lay off thousands of good Barbadian people who deserve better. And we are asking you, Minister, to give unto us, in your discretion, the same set of concessions that you have written or had written to give cost you less. And if he does not do it, I believe that this is a matter that will have to go to the courts. Administrative Justice Act. The Administrative Justice Act of Barbados was put in place by the party government to stop a minister from being so capricious and whimsical in his behavior. Now, you know, tonight I have not accused Mr. Sinclair of any improprieties yet, because I am a very generous person. And I like not to attribute to malice that which I can attribute to ignorance. So of course, I you listen, I am saying that this reflects an ignorant judgment. There may be others who may want now to begin to inquire, how can it be that a poor boy from Deacons, I think you should call him the Spider-Man or something so, come along with nothing. But now you can hear St. Chris sponsoring the big shows. And bring along the bands. I gave bicycles too. I beg pardon? I gave iPads and TVs. But I don't want to put it in the proper motives, Mr. Clear. Hear me very carefully? Because in this sense, I do not attribute to malice or impropriety that which can be best explained by ignorance. But I know that for 40 years I was the Minister of Finance. And every year at St. Peter, I would beg for a few little hampers and handout, and they are so small that I can put them in the newspapers. But below the Minister of Finance who came from, I get in that with you. Next to nothing. I know when Chris Sickler has a Christmas party, it's like manna from heaven. I have to ask myself the question, where have all this bounty come from? And you know, I keep asking, I say I shall not be satisfied. Because Mayor Motley and I, without there being any need for any law, went to Parliament and said, this is what I have, this is what I owe and what I own. And it was yesterday what I am today and shall be tomorrow. That is what I had when I left office. I declared them. And men came. And in addition to accusing me of being like a cartoon of expired milk, Dawson, I was all kind of things. But they promised that they were going to declare their assets. And I know that the reason why Franklin must not be called in the election is that they have not declared their assets yet. So he gave them time to declare their assets before the bell is called. I have to presume so. But I need, like you, to know what they have now. And what they own and what they owe and what where they get what they got from. Is it from salaries? If so, tell me so I can be satisfied. But I am not as yet, as you notice, attributing to this any more than just an ignorant judgment. To give to a company these extraordinary concessions that could destroy every other company in this field is an action that has never before been committed by any Minister of Finance in this country, and a trust shall never in the future be committed by any Minister of Finance. There's some things, then there's only one word that can be used. It is wrong. It is wrong to put thousands of jobs at risk in Barbados to placate and to gratify one company called Cost You Less. And it is good that as we come to the end of this term, that this kind of issue can encapsulate what is wrong with this bankrupt, broken, and wicked administration. These things are wrong. The deals are wrong. And Barbados must go back again and soon to having a government for the people, by the people. And God bless you, and I thank you for the opportunity to say this.